Hello, beautiful people, and welcome. In today's video, we're talking about translations, dilations, and transformations, all three in today's video. As always, if I make a mistake, I am human. Let me know where the mistake occurs so that way I may learn from it. All right, let's go ahead and jump into translations. Now, a translation is a movement to the right or left and a movement up, down. Now, it doesn't have to be both. It can be only a movement to the left or right, or it can be a movement to up and down. However, it could also be both at the same time. Now, if you have a movement to the right, what you're going to be seeing is an addition number, whatever number that may be, to the x value. Now, if your movement is to the left, you're going to be having a subtraction number from your x value. If your movement to the right, you're going to notice you're adding a number to your y value. If you're going down, if you're shifting down, then you're subtracting a number from your y value. Now, with a translation, super duper important that your image doesn't change. Your pre-image shape does not change. So shape and size stays the same. So we are shifting things up, down, left, right, but we're not actually changing how something looks. We're just changing the position it is in. So sometimes you're going to see it written this way. This is called a rule. And so for this rule, they're saying, hey, here is our pre-image. This is our original points. Here is our rule. And then output. And I'm going to call this X new and Y new. So little n there. And this is your new points. This plus or minus means we can have a plus number or we can have a minus number for both the x and the y values. Now for a dilation means that you're either going to get bigger or smaller depending on the value of c. But notice for dilation, the value of c is for the x and for the y. So when you have, here I have a picture of Miss Sylvanas on my phone. When you are dilating, if you've ever gotten your eyes dilated, we're getting bigger, right? I'm zooming in onto Sylvanas, or I can zoom out, right? I can zoom out. So what we have here is a scale factor. You'll hear the term scale factor, meaning for a dilation, you're going to have the same number multiplying to x and multiplying to y. So again, here's your original, here's your rule, and your rule states for a dilation, you're going to multiply the x value by a number and the y value by the same number. Now let's talk about transformations. Transformations are kind of, let's go back to dilations for a second. So with a dilation, your size changes, but the shape stays the same. And the reason that the shape stays the same is because you are applying the same factor. You are multiplying by the same number for your x values and your y values. So size changes, but the shape stays the same for dilation. Now again, for the transformations, notice that we have a multiplier. We are multiplying, and we are adding or subtracting. So with a transformation, a lot can happen. So we can change size. We can move the image. In this case, we would call it, let's call it a pre-image. And shape could change as well. So a transformation, not a translation, but a transformation, think of something transforming. It is almost springtime here, so I'm thinking flowers. You plant a flower bulb, and it transforms into an actual flower. So a transformation can occur. It no longer looks like a flower seed or a flower bulb. It now looks like an actual flower. So it's not going to remain the same shape. It could potentially move up, down, left, right. It could stretch, it could compress, and it could look a little bit weirder. So it doesn't necessarily matter if you have a translation, dilation, or a transformation. I'm going to show you the steps that it will take for you to graph the image. Remember, image is the after, pre-image is the before. So for step number 1, we're going to take the original points and label. And so, for example, let's say we're going to have our original points here, and you're going to label your X and your Y. So let's say we have A, B, and whatever number those are, C. Once you have labeled your original points and identified what those points are, you're going to write those in a T-chart here. And then on here, you're going to write your rule, whatever the rule is. Remember, the rule is this. Whatever they give you for the rule, that's what you're going to be writing. You're going to write your rule in the T-chart. You're going to apply the rule and solve. And I'll show you how that looks like in just a little bit with an example. So we're going to do one example real quick. Here is our pre-image. Again, pre-image is what your original started. Pre-image is before the change, before you applied the rule. So given the following rule, graph the image. So do you have a translation? Do you have a dilation? Or do you have a transformation? When I'm looking here, I notice that I have a +1. I have a -9. So this +1 means that I'm going to be moving to the right. This minus means I'm going to be moving to the left. Excuse me, this minus means I'm going to be moving down because it's in the Y spot. Now notice that I'm multiplying by a 2 and then by a 7. So it's not the same multiplier. It's not the same number being multiplied by X and by Y. So that means I don't have a dilation. I have a transformation because the image will look different than our before. That's okay. It's just wanted to clarify that. So step number 1, I'm looking at my steps here. I have them right in front of me. Step number 1 is take the original points and label them in the T-chart. So here's my T-chart. I have pre-drawn it. Here's my pre-image. So I'm going to write original here. So original means you're going to take each point and label it. So I have an A, I have a B, I have a C, and I have a D. We're going to find out what these points are, and we're going to label them. So let's see, A is located at -2 and -2. B is located at 1 and 1. C is located at 1, 2, 3, 4, 0. And D is located at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3. Right, so now we have our original points, so we've labeled them. Step number 2 is write the rule in the T-chart. So what you're going to do is you're going to take that rule, here it is, that's the rule that they've given you, and you're just going to write it here on top. Once you have that rule written up, how do we apply the rule? You're going to take the rule and you're going to copy it down however many times you need to. In this case, I need to copy it down 1, 2, 3, 4 times. Now, instead of writing the X and the Y, I'm actually going to leave it blank. So what you're going to do is you're going to do 2 times your X value plus 1, 7 times your Y value minus 9. So I'm leaving some space. I'm leaving a space for me to write your X value and your Y value. And I'm going to do that as many times as you need to. And again, this is multiplication. Now that you have your rule written down that many times, go back to your original points. Label X and Y. If you already know what is your X value and what is your Y value, you may choose to skip this step. I'm going to make sure that I do this here. So this is my XY, 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 and XY. taking those points, you're going to plug them in here. So for example, my x value is -2, my y value is -2. Now remember, this is multiplication, so I do have a dot here to represent multiplication. My x value is 1, my y value is 1, my x value is 4, my y value is 0, my x value is 5, my y value is 3. Then, if you would like to use a calculator, I am allowing you to use a calculator here because I'm testing you on your transformation, on your graphing, and I'm not testing you on your algebra skills right now. So what we're doing here is now you're going to write your new points. These are your new transform points. When you have your new points, make sure that you add a prime to it. So for example, here's our A. Our new is going to be A prime, which is like a little tiny one, like think exponent, like a 1 exponent, but it's a tick mark, like an apostrophe. So I have A prime, B prime, C prime, and D prime. And what are our new points? Well, 2 times a -2, that is a -4. -4 plus 1, that is a -3. 7 times -2, let's see, I'm just going to write it down here. So this was -4 plus 1. This was -14 minus 9. So for that one, I'm going to choose to use a calculator. And I have -14 minus 9, and that is a -23. Here I'm going to use a calculator, or maybe not. 2 times 1 is 2, plus 1 is 3. 7 times 1 is 7, minus 9, and that is -2. 4 times 2, that's 8. 8 plus 1, that's 9. 7 times 0 is 0, minus 9 is -9. And for the last one, 5 times 2, that's 10, plus 1, that's 11. 7 times 3, that's 21. 21 minus 9, and that is 12. And again, I am using my calculator off to the side. Okay, now that I have my new points, I'm going to sketch this out. I'm going to choose to sketch this out on a different, a lot of times what they'll do is they'll make you graph it on the same plane, but I'm going to choose to graph it on a separate sheet of paper because my numbers, like I have a 23, and I don't have 23 tick marks here. So let me sketch this out on another sheet of paper. So I have pre-sketched our graph here. I just need to plot the points. I'm going to take a look at our new points here. So the first point that we have is our A prime, and A prime is at -3 and -23. So here's -3, and here's 20, 1, 2, 3, -23. So that's going to be here-ish. And that's going to be, make sure that you label your points as well. So example, at this point, I have to write that this is A prime. This is our transformed A point. Now I have B, that's going to be for B prime, 3 and -2. That's about here-ish. This is our B prime. Then I have C prime, which is at 9 and -9. So here's 9, here's -9. Again, I'm human, so it's about here-ish. And then D is 11 and 12. So here's 11, here's 12, about here-ish. And again, that's D prime. You're going to use your ruler and connect these. So something like that.